Welcome to the Diesel Podcast presented by DFC Diesel. Tom, welcome to the Diesel Podcast. I appreciate you reaching out to me on social media and checking out your shop page, what you guys work on. You had mentioned Powerstrokes and Ford are kind of at the heart of what you do. I know you work on all diesel trucks, but like I was telling you before the podcast, one of the most common requests we get for like older truck videos are 7.3 6 liters, and I think those are kind of near and dear to you. So I look forward to chatting with you today and learning more about you and some things we should look out for on 7.3s and 6.0s.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, dude. You got the right guy for the right job. Yeah, I've been
tell,
doing this a long, long time, son. Long time.
well, tell
Yeah,
me
yeah.
tell me about your shop and your background in diesel and being a shop owner.
Yeah, so this is my shop's called Big Dog Custom Diesel Works, and I'm in Dripping Springs, Texas. So it's a four-bay shop, one alignment rack. I got a 20,000 pound and two 12,000 pound and an 18,000 alignment rack. So we service all makes and model trucks, but I am a Ford senior master diesel tech for the last I was one of the first 250 in 1999 at 8,000 dealers. So I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, yeah. And I've only had two jobs in my life. I had a shop in Jersey in 2003 to 2008, and then back to the dealer. So from 1988 till 2003, I was at the dealer, and then from 2008 till 2020, back at the dealer, and now this is my second shop. Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you saw these trucks when they were brand new rolling off the.
Oh yeah, rolling out. I was working on warranty. You name warranty, fuel leaks, this, that, brake squeaks was big back then. Like we have a 93 in there now, and I'm telling the kid who's working on. I'm like, dude, I was working on these things like even before your dad was thinking about having your ass. This is funny. It's hilarious.
With
But that's the niche though. Like I've been open. I'll be open 4 years in July, and we won the best of Dripping Springs, which is like voted by the people 3 years in a row. So I got my name out there. Everybody's talking about us. I always get great referrals, and when you go somewhere with your 7.3 to 3 or 4 shops and you can't get it fixed, and by the time you get to me, you're desperate to get it fixed. Because like 7.3 people are 7.3 through and through. They don't care. Like I have at least a half a dozen customers who got between 400 and 600,000, and they spend a lot of money on them. They do not care. They don't care. They're not looking for a 6.7. They're not looking to drop 100K or even 50K on a used one. They just rather put the money into that truck.
It's a really passionate crowd, which I definitely enjoy talking about the trucks, talking with enthusiasts because of their passion, excitement. They don't want to let him go. I wanted to ask you, are there any differences from your perspective, say being at the dealership level to being a shop owner, with the type of either customer or problems or things that they ask or want done, or is it all pretty similar?
Um, dealer problem was, by the time they got to me, their pants were on fire because the service writer just drilled them into the ground, like totally. And I used to train. I had two in Jersey when I ran a team of 7 guys. I had two service writers, and they never talked to each other. So they were both back there trying to shove shit down my throat to get done consistently all the time as fast as possible. I'm like, you idiots got to talk to each other, And then when I was in North Carolina, I when I was in North Carolina, Liza was just awesome. She was awesome. So we had everything under control. It was really way easier. But dealer, like the way I run the shop is I took all the bullshit out. Like you get a dealership experience here without the bullshit. Shop's clean. Shop's got air conditioning. I use the best parts. I use the best of everything. We have the best tools. I have all Ford tools.
Hey, Diesel fans, wanted to let you guys know that our friends over at Kershaw Knives have a 40% off MSRP code for you. If you go to kershaw.kaiusa.com, use code TDP2540, You get your 40% off MSRP. It's a great way to save some money, get some cool gear if you're in the market for a new EDC knife, something for hunting, fishing, around the job site, around the house. They've got you covered with a bunch of different choices for blade steel, opening mechanisms, handle designs, and their whole lineup is designed to meet any budget that you might have. So we really appreciate them offering that discount code just for Diesel Podcast listeners. So if you're in the market, head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com, use code TDP2540, and get 40% off MSRP. So I'm really curious about the kind of the experience from a truck owner's perspective between the dealership and then what you do now. And the reason I mention this is like when I think back to my dealer experiences, some of them were good. Some of them were, I would say, less than good. It really kind of depended on, I think probably the service writer. That was really the only person I talked to. But I think being a shop owner, you're wearing a lot of hats there, right? So you're talking to the customer, you're managing, or maybe even working on trucks yourself, or training somebody. You're also wearing the marketing hat, all those things. Do you find with more control like that, that's something that helps make a better experience for somebody that comes to your shop because you're involved in all aspects of their experience there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, because the customer knows exactly what's going on. Like I moved to TechMetric from Shop Boss, and it's a text and an email. And I tell them too, like customers don't want to talk on a phone no more. So business is way easier now. Right? Yeah. It's way easier than it used to be. Collections is easier. Like my other shop, I had nothing but a hard time with collecting. Like now this shop, they're paying online. You know what I'm saying? Like the credit card thing, kind of sucks because you got to try to make some money. But it is what it is. But the dealer, the customer doesn't get a feeling that he gets like he does here. Like my customers in North Carolina and in Jersey, they used to go into the back door and talk to me. So they got the feeling, right?
Yeah.
They bypassed those guys up there, But when I was at the dealer, like teaching Liza, I was like, they have to get the same feeling that I give them. When I give them a feeling, they'll spend 10 grand. They won't even bat an eye about it. And then I'm confident in what we do here that I'll take your 10 grand and not worry about the truck coming back. I'll get you on the road, get you on your camper, get you down 3 states away, So like that's another big thing when I repair trucks is how I do it for the customer, not for me.
Yeah.
It's not about dollars and cents. It's about the customer. Dollars and cents come when you take care of the customer because all they do is tell their friends. And it doesn't matter. You didn't need to make $5 grand on that guy's job. You could make $1,500 on that job. That guy's going to come back and spend another $1,000, but he's going to tell all of his friends. That's where that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why people love when we have shop owners on the podcast because you see everything. You see the parts like that we talk about. You see the issues with the trucks. You see the mistakes people make. You've had hands-on experience with these trucks since the late 90s. So when I ask you a question about a truck, they're going to trust what you say versus, if it was just me talking about a truck or something like that. Like I don't work on them. I don't have that experience.
And service writers are salespeople. They give a shit about money. They care about money, what the ticket's going to pay them. That's all they care about. So it's just like I listen to shop owners podcasts and they give me a headache. But I guess that's why, like, maybe because that's why they got 2 or 3 stores. They got 15 or 18 guys. Like, I don't see that. I don't see that because that seems disconnected to me. It seems too disconnected with me and my customers that I've been building for 4 years. Like 2, 3 guys. I had 2 guys. I had 3 guys. That was That was good. We were kind of tripping over each other. There's not enough room, but the shop's got a lot of room. But for 4 of us in the shop with 4 bays, like I'd just work outside. I love the heat, so it's shop's AC. I worked outside today. I didn't even feel like bringing them inside. The other, Ozzy was inside all day today.
I think, I had mentioned to you when we were chatting before this that 6-liter topics are really, really popular. 7.3s too for us. Yeah. And so I wanted to talk about the 6.0 for a second. And
course.
What should somebody do to make them reliable? Or I guess maybe to step back, how do you know if the one you just bought or the one you've had for a while is going to have an issue, or how can you be proactive with it? So what's your approach when it comes to the 6 liters to making them reliable or keeping them on the road?
Well, actually, I just had a phone call today with the dude who's buying like an '06 with 130, and he's like, "Hey, man, I hear bulletproof, I hear this, I hear that, and by the time I got done talking to him, he kind of understood that he was going to spend way more than he wanted to, what he expected to, what the internet told him he was going to spend, which is the biggest crock of shit, because like a bulletproof isn't just head studs and like slapping head gaskets on it. Like, I throw the cylinder heads out. You got to just throw them out. The castings are bullshit. Everybody's got new technology now. Why wouldn't you spend the money and buy? Like, you're spending that much money. You can't. I don't save people money on that. I've got bitten in 2003 and 2004 at the dealer like that because of warranty. That's how you had to do it. Send it out, do this, do that. And then they'd come back with the same shit. And then, oh, the guy missed a crack all the way underneath somewhere. The heads are just shit. They just are, plus the head bolts, right? But then, the oil cooler is a thing, going through the turbo is a thing, flushing it correct. Like if these guys read the shop manual how to flush a 6 liter, 80% of them on the road wouldn't break down. Really. The flushing procedure is like the biggest thing with the chemicals, and then they at the aftermarket has also better flushing tools too, that bolts right onto the top of the oil cooler where you can flush the oil cooler right out. But the biggest thing is that, you have to use the chemicals. You have to use the chemicals and you have to get the engine block clean. You just have to.
What is the proper procedure to flush it?
Well, use 2 VC9. You take the thermostat out, you fill it up with water, and then you go down. You run it for an hour or two down the road. You try to run it. Then you come back and you take out the drains. You take out the driver's side drain because the other one's by the starter, and then you do the radiator petcock, and then you run the shit out of it for like another 2 hours, flushing all that water out. Then on top of that, after that, then you flush out the oil cooler with the other tool. The aftermarket's got a tool that goes right on top. You flush it out both ways, and then you just let it sit, and then you add a filter, Sinister filter, whoever's filter, and then you put good coolant in it and replace the thermostat with a good thermostat, and then you're good to go. You're good to go, and you always keep an eye on it. You always then I have a customer come back 500 miles, and we check that filter. We cut that filter open. I'm big opponent on cutting filters open. Like, I have a badass filter tool. I cut filters open all the time to check stuff. So like after that, then you say, okay, that's good. And like it's doing its job. There's still a little bit of debris. So 5,000 miles. If not, he comes back in another 500. And I use cat filters. I really like to use cat coolant, but some people just want regular coolant in it, because they don't want to get stuck on the road. But I feel like you're not going to get stuck on the road when I'm done with your truck, So I just try to do the best for everybody.
I wanted to ask you about, well, it's kind of, I was going to say I want to ask you a general question, but I'm going to ask you some specific stuff. When it comes to like filters and fluid and even replacement parts that you like to use, how did you develop those preferences? Is it something where you just saw something held up vastly better than the others, or
like when 6 liters first came out, there was nothing but problems. I was at the dealer and I was fixing nothing but bullshit problem, oil pressure problems, fuel pressure problems, and all of this shit because of the crappy aftermarket filters. Just crappy. Like, they're way better now, but I still won't use them. So like when you come here with any kind of vehicle. Doesn't matter if it's a Ford, Chevy. You get whatever that is. Make. If it's a GM, it gets a GM filter and it gets Motorcraft oil. If it's a Dodge, it gets a Mopar filter and gets Motorcraft oil. If it's a Ford, it gets Motorcraft and Ford oil. That's it. Like oil's a big thing. People want this. They want I'm a no frills. 5K oil changes, 10,000 fuel filters. You know what I'm saying? Service your coolant, service your power steering, service your brakes. Service. And like my customers will attest to, it's a big thing because I have customers that are 4 years old now, and their trucks, like, they don't do big repairs. Service. It helps with oil leaks. It helps with trans leaks. It helps with functionality. Like, I'm just not a big fan of, I do what works. So, like, I'm an Amsoil dealer, right? If somebody wants Amsoil, I'll order it for them. I don't stock it. I stock Motorcraft. That's it. Car stuff, same thing. When I do eco diesels and all of the different little diesels, it's the same thing. I have customers with the Chevys. I get to call up the dealer and get the oil and the filter.
Is that where you think a lot of truck owners make mistakes? Like, by the time they bring a truck to you, is they didn't have that strict maintenance schedule, and then the problems sort of snowball and get bigger and bigger and more expensive?
Yeah, because the problem is that, these guys, even the diesel shops around here, like, they're all about money. So, like, the other shops, there's 2 or 3 shops around here. When their trucks come in, they have a freaking $8 oil filter on a fucking 6.7. You're going to tell me that's not doing nothing for that truck? Come on. And the customer's not going 5,000. Half of the stickers that come out that I see from other places, they're 10,000. Like, where the fuck are you guys going with 10,000 miles? And when you have a 6.7 that runs and you're running at 5,000 miles, like, I have a lot of customers, they're 5,000 miles, they get rotates, they get fuel filters, like, they're on the road, their oil's clean. Their oil pan's not leaking. Their injector seals aren't leaking. They're not complaining to me about anything, But, like, you get a guy that's at 10,000 miles, he comes here 10,000 miles, or like, yeah, man, I get my oil change every 10,000. I can't get the black off your hands. You can't get it off. You wash your hands 2 or 3 times. So they're like, the oil's dead. The oil's dead. And, like, oil testing and all of that shit, like, okay, that's a guy who is on the road. He's a hotshot driver, right? That guy wants to get the most out of everything and wants to take care of his truck the best. Okay, fine, right? If you do an oil change every 5,000 miles, you'll be doing one a week. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes these guys do 20,000 a month, So, it's a give and take, man, but shit always lasts better with good oil in it, good filters, good fuel filters, good fuel treatment, It's just fact. Good air filter, good filtration, Turbos last longer, just everything.
When I think of 7.3s, 6 liters, and then you mentioned 6.7s, it's almost, there's different challenges or demands I would see, like with the Huey injection system and how important oil is to that system. But then I contrast that with, say, a 6.7 Powerstroke and the emission systems and the tax that it puts on that oil with EGR and just temperatures and how all that runs. You kind of have the same issue, even though they're two different systems of needing to maintain it and stay on top of it. So whether you got an old truck or new truck, that would be incredibly important.
Yeah, dude. Well, listen, 7.3s, man. You can't kill those goddamn things, dude. Even if you don't take care of them, you just can't kill that son of a bitch. So, like, if you take care of it, I have one guy. He was a new customer, 350,000. See me online, like 5-star rating and everything. So he called me up, and I'm like, yeah, man, bring it down. So we wound up doing glow plugs and stuff on it. I took the valve covers off, and I've never seen an engine so clean except for, like, brand new. I'm like, yo, dude, what's going on with this thing? Like, it runs great. I've never seen a 7.3 with no oil leaks. He's like, oh, I've been changing oil every 5,000. Before I go to change the oil, I put a quart of trans fluid in at 500 miles before. And he's like, arch oil in the fuel, like, the truck ran flawless. So the high pressure pump just started going bad. Like, he had to get a 1211 going up a hill. So it was only putting out like 1,200, 1,300 pounds, but it ran perfect. It needed 2,800. So we wound up redoing all the injectors and putting a high pressure pump in it and stuff. And now, he was just like, Tom, man, the trucks are just great. I love it. He's like, I put a new heart in it. You know what I'm saying? Put a new high pressure pump, put a heart in that damn thing. It didn't run any better. Like, it started a little bit better. It didn't have no more power. It was just more responsive, and it was just like he was all giddy, man, when he paid. The bill was expensive, and he was all giddy about it. It's silly. It's just super, super cool.
What do you think about the focusing more on performance, making more power, more torque, and how it relates to the reliability? Is there a point that, you're making more power, but you're cutting the life of either accessories, the engine itself, turbos, things like that, or
everything's relative, right? You can get 7.3 to have a lot, get some horsepower and get some giddy up, but then you have to do something with the trans, because after a while the front drum just gives out. The weld on the front drum just gives out and goes poo poo. And like the same thing on a 6-liter, you can, like, mine's pretty hopped up, man, and it does a lot of nice burnouts, but the thing at 200K on the trans, and kind of smoked the trans, I put a Suncoast stage 2 in it. Now we're back in business, like, then you get a 6.7, like, they're kind of like, until you put tons and tons of power through it, like, it's reliable as fuck. It just is. So it's relative, man. But like anything that you do, like anything that I did to my 6-liter, just makes it more reliable. Just makes it more reliable. I did the returnless fuel system on it. Like, it's hopped up. It's got a cam in it. I did the engine. It's got heads on it. It doesn't have injectors. Then it's got a returnless. It's got a Fass. Got a sump. It's got I got rid of the fuel bowl, so it's direct. It's got a KC 1.5 on it, and it's got a tune, and it runs, and it has an EGR cooler on it. I didn't take it off. I got a bulletproof EGR cooler. Keep the temps low. It runs awesome. But then, everybody got to get rid of the EGR cooler. It's the first thing that they do. But it's really the oil cooler that makes it all happen. That's what makes all that shit happen, is the oil cooler. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you cut the EGR cooler off, you're still not fixing the problem. That's what everybody does. Yeah, let's delete it. And they delete it, but that's not the fix. That's not the cause. That's the effect. The cause is the oil cooler. There was a huge TSB, like when those trucks first came out in like 2003, 2004. It was like 15 pages for the EGR cooler, how to fix it the right way, But like, nobody wanted to pay attention, dude. You could find the oil coolers and they put the EGR cooler in. They got down to do it about an hour and a half, paid like 9 hours. Then they keep all the gaskets, the oil cooler, VC9, keep all that shit, and just send it out. It's terrible. Terrible. I fixed so many trucks. Like that. And it's no different than on the outside, because the dudes aren't educated. You get on the internet, you spend 5 minutes on YouTube for some dude who's just not educated. Like, I've went through like 800 to 1,000 hours of fucking training, on trucks, on Ford products, but trucks, so I have a different perspective on a lot of that stuff. The internet's cool. They got a lot of cool stuff. I'm finding a lot of cool stuff. But when it comes down to the basic of diagnosing, knowing the system, and doing a repair, there's no other way to do it.
Do you get customers who bring you their truck when they try to DIY it? They try to fix it themselves, and then it kind of ends up, well, I guess it would end up costing more and being more involved because of the access to information. Like when I first got into diesel trucks, it was about 2005 or 6. And
the internet was a baby.
It was, and there wasn't a whole lot of information, but now I can jump onto YouTube, see somebody tear apart a truck. I can read stuff. It's much greater access to information, but I can't buy the experience. I can just find the information. So I'm curious from that perspective of jumping into it, kind of DIY, maybe not having a good handle on it. Is that a common kind of fix that you see in the shop?
I get a lot of people just calling for questions and stuff, and I'm just like, hey, man, like, listen, dude, that sounds like you're in a little bit over your head. You know, it's like YouTube and all that stuff on the internet's cool, man. But if you never mess with it, man, like you don't do it right, it's going to cost you way more money. But then I get customers, a lot of customers do their own service, which is, I'm all about it. Good for you. I'm not in the, this place doesn't run on oil changes and fuel filters. So I really don't give a shit. It runs on repairs. The service work is just a thing that has to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not opening the door saying, "Hey, Ozzy, we got 15 oil changes today." Like, that's not happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, we do waiters in the morning. That's it. So if somebody calls then you can't stop by here. The shop's too small. There's only two of us now. So like, it's not that kind of shop. It's not a just coming. People call all the time. "Hey man, I'm coming through. Can I come in and get a check engine light?" I'm like, "Nah, man, it doesn't work like that." I'm like, "I'm in the middle of somebody's truck. That's not fair." You got to put it to them that, like, nobody wants to tell people that. Like, I write to, like, "Hey man, if I stop what I'm doing in the afternoon, that means that the guy whose afternoon it was can't get their truck back." And I said, "You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy in the afternoon, do you? That somebody's going to do that to you." And he's like, "Man, I never even thought of it like that." I'm like, "Yeah, man. So like, when I work on your truck, I'm going to give you your time. So you want to come in the morning?" Nope. Like, I can't stop the afternoon. The afternoon's for getting trucks fixed and out of here. The morning's for getting the diag, getting all the shit, That's just how it works. So,
with thinking about the 6.0, a little bit more, I've talked with people, and it's been popular for a while now, of people wanting to get an older diesel. It might not be their primary, sometimes it is, but they want to pick up something older. And when you're looking at a 7.3 versus 6.0, is there one you would gravitate more towards? Not, I guess, like, from your perspective, having been hands-on with these trucks for so long, if you were going to go buy one and you wanted something you could upgrade, but you wanted it to be reliable, you wanted it to just run forever, but you didn't want to sink a ton of money into repair and parts and things like that, would you gravitate towards one versus the other for that?
well, I would try to find. I really would try to find the latest build date, like for a 7.3, which is like early 2003. Those engines were like right before they kicked them off. They were fucking awesome. They had a lot of power for what they were, and all of the bugs were out of it. And then they killed it. They brought the 2003 6-liter in, But money perspective wise, it depends on what the dude's going to do with it. Like, he can get away with a 7.3, like they're virtually the trucks and the engine are, virtually bulletproof. But if he's doing a lot of different things with it, I would always go with like an 05 or an 06. They're hard to find an 06 or a 07 6-liter, like right before the 6.4. Like, they're so hard to find, And if they are, they're like beat. I don't know what these assholes do with these fucking things. They beat it to death. They just do. It's crazy.
You sound like me when I was looking for a 5.9 common rail, and I was trying to find one, and I'm like, man, I can't find anything under 300,000 miles that doesn't look like it went through a tornado, or they're rusted out or something like that. It could be really tough to find these trucks.
Yeah, it is. It's tough, man. There's but if you're gonna spend, if you realistically talk to the customer and you tell the customer, look, you're gonna buy a 6-liter, it's gonna cost you $15,000, between 10 and 15, right? And to do it right, the last one I did was like almost $15,000, right? So now you're at $25,000. So if you're not comfortable with at least $25,000, you should go look for a 6.7 for 30. That's it. And you're gonna get more of a wash, especially if you want to tow, you want to take your old lady. Women like to be in a little bit better comfort, right? 7.3 and a 6-liter, like, versus a little bit newer, like a 2013 or 14 6.7. The damn truck's still 10 years old. We're in 2025 now. You're right?
Yeah.
So like a 7.3 is going to be a 30-year-old truck, a 6-liter is going to be a 20-year-old truck. And if you get a 14 or a 15, it's a 10-year-old truck. So like I like to talk to the customers about their vision, what their truck's going to be doing for them. And that gives me the perspective of where I'm gonna tell them to start looking for a truck. What lane, because you got to think of it like that. You really do. Because like that's thinking about the customer. Like realistically, I'm the shop owner. I should be trying to get them the biggest piece of shit, right? To get it in here to get as much money as I can out of them. But that's not real. That's not what I do. That's the other percentile. Good shops and good reputation and good diesel shops, that's what they do. I'm in the help business. That's it. It's real.
Common question we get from you guys a lot is, hey, I need a diesel engine. I either, I can't wait this long to get one, or normal place I get stuff from it just takes too long, or they don't have the parts in it that I need. Maybe my truck's not stock, or I tow heavy with it. I don't want to go back with just a stock engine. DFC Diesel is a sponsor of the podcast. We worked with them, hand in hand on doing episodes, answering technical questions. They have a complete lineup of Cummins, Duramax, and Powerstroke remanufactured engines that are set to a standard of ISO 9001 2015 standards, which is a huge deal in the aftermarket. And there's certain levels of quality testing, validation that are required for that. So when you get one of those engines, the type of quality that's built behind it with an industry-leading warranty that's really comprehensive. And the other thing with that is sometimes the options that are out there, it's a basic OEM engine. You want a little bit more. You don't want to have the same failure again. So there's a bunch of different series of engines that they have, from core, street, tow haul, and also the Speed of Air series, which we've covered on the podcast before. There's a lot of really cool benefits to it. And if you have questions about that, reach out to them. If you don't know the type of engine that you're looking for, if you go to dfcdiesel.com, there's a ton of info there. You can send an email or you can reach out to them. Also, they're working with Speed of Air pistons, which it's the only piston that pays for itself. And there's a lot of really cool technology behind it. So you can add that into your build and be able to get better fuel economy, increased power, increased torque, and better engine life out of it. Some of the most common engine applications or series of engines that they have with that lead time, a lot of them are in stock or they have really short lead times. So you can check your favorite retailer or go to dfcdiesel.com, check them out, see what's in stock, see what you can get. If you have questions, maybe you want to do something that's outside of the normal series of engines, they have tons of choices for rods, cranks, pistons, valve train upgrades, tons of different things. So if you're in the market, definitely make sure and head on over and check them out. Hey, diesel fans, I wanted to chat with you about diesel fuel. It's something we've talked about a lot on the podcast, and specifically ways that it can lead to a lot of costly repairs. And the main reason that we have these issues is a lack of lubricity. Our friends over at Hot Shot Secrets have developed a formula that boosts performance and then addresses this issue. So whether you have an old truck, new one, something anywhere in between, we all face this issue. Hot Shots EDT is a 6-in-1 formula. It cleans injectors, boosts cetane, and it has 4 times the lubricity as their leading competitor. So it's a great way to be able to stay ahead of the maintenance curve, avoid those costly repairs, and the best part is it does the work for you. So all you do is add it to your regular fuel up schedule, and it's doing all the heavy lifting. So you don't have to worry about some of those issues that just come with diesel fuel anytime we buy it from the pump. If you go to hotshotsecret.com, use code DIESELPOD20. It'll get you 20% off your order. We really appreciate the team and our friends over at Hot Shot Secret offering this discount code just for you guys. So if you're in the market, head on over to their website, use code DIESELPOD20 and get 20% off your order. What's really tough for me with time frames of trucks is I don't know where time went, because I remember 2003 7.3s being new at the local Ford dealer. I remember the 5.9 Common Rail coming out. I remember the 6-liter and the jet sound that the 0360 had, and it was so cool and people loved it. And I'm like, that truck's almost 20 years old now or older. And it's so, I'm like, where'd the last 10 or 15 years go? But I think you're right. It's, when you're looking back at it, it's something to purchase. Yes, they're simpler. You don't have some of the emissions controls on them. The aftermarket can be better. It's wider to pick from, but you compare a newer, Platinum or King Ranch Powerstroke to a 2003 Lariat, it's vastly different on the interior. The drivability, the power, the torque that these things have, it's just totally different. So it can be tough to navigate that or think.
Yeah, they all ride different too, man. Like all three of them. So you really, and we're not even touching on a 6.4 because that was like, I kept those things on the road. I had a lot of good customers with them, and they really loved them. And that son of a bitch, you could make tons and tons and tons of power with a 6.4.
Yeah.
But their fuel systems just killed engines, man. And people killed engines because they never fucking took care of them. Going back to maintenance. Like that thing, you had to clean the fuel pump out. You had to clean the water and drain out every 2. You had to split the pump and clean all the crud out because it would let all that shit bypass and it would sit on top of the return side of the injector and just melt the fucking pistons. Like I fucking put like 1,000 fucking engines in those goddamn things, dude. Crazy at the dealer. Yep. They were just like 2 years, and like customers ask me all the time, dude, I got a guy who's selling and want to sell a 6.4. I'm like, forget it, dude. And I should be saying, yeah, dude, yeah, let's pick it up and put some money into it. But it's just, I don't like fucking people like headaches because then people turn into headaches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're like that, people turn into headaches real quick on you. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for good, sustainable business that people like to come to, and they like trust in what I'm going to say to them. I'm from New York, right? So whether you like it or not, you're going to get it. You're just going to get it. Like I know I'm in Texas. Everybody's like, you ain't from around here. I said, yeah, I know I ain't from around here. But like when I moved to North Carolina, it was the same thing. Everybody likes to beat around the bush on stuff, and it's just people. Sometimes you get every once in a while, you get a person that looks at you funny and says, the only thing I can tell you is, listen, man, would you rather hear that straight or you rather hear it sideways with your wallet? And then they're like, okay, they get it, and when people come here from other shops that used to go to all these other shops and this and that, they know they've been lied to when they come here because they just talk totally different. So they know they've been lied to. It sucks.
It's really tough. And I think back to people like truck owners that I've talked to where they just have reached the end of their rope and they're just ready to sell the truck, get out of diesel forever and never look back because of expenses or horrible experiences. And like the same person who goes to your shop is going to listen to this podcast, who's going to buy a part, or do something else. So it's like, it's all related, but I hate when I hear that. It's tough to hear.
No, it is. Like people are on their last leg because they went to 3 or 4 shops and they pulled every last cent out of them and they kicked them to the road. Like I hear it all the time. Like what happens, I pride myself on not having comebacks. I'll drive a truck for a goddamn week to make sure on whatever, if I have to. Like when Scott was here, he lived in Canyon Lake. It was 50 miles. It was a 100-mile road test. Like he took trucks home all the time, and the customers love that shit because I don't want them here. I want to charge them a fair amount, and I don't want them here no more. I don't want them in my face. I want them happy with their repair on the road. Like, when you look at my Instagram, it's like I keep you on the road. That's it. Call me and let me know how I can keep you on the road. I don't want you here. Parking lot looks empty because the trucks are coming and going. They're not staying here. They're on the road. More people come. Next week there'll be more people coming.
Thought of a question to ask you because you mentioned being a straight shooter earlier. What would be some warning signs you would tell somebody if they're looking to have their truck worked on and they're calling around to different places? For maintenance, fix a problem, something like that. What should they pay attention to that a shop may tell them where it's just red flag, you need to just keep on looking somewhere else?
That's a tough one because there's so many red flags, Like I told you, man, when the customer calls and they're talking to a service writer and the service writer doesn't know something, they're just going to lie to the person just to keep rolling. Like, so people gotta know that they gotta know a little bit about their truck, and if they've been around, like most of these guys have been around, so they can, they know a bunch of stuff. Even if they got lied to before, somebody gives them another lie, then they like, okay, well, these guys really don't know what they're talking about, and reputable shop is like the biggest thing. Like, I never thought of I never thought that like reviews were a big thing, because when you're at the dealer, like, they want a review, right? There was only 2 or 3 questions about the technician. Did he leave your car clean? Did he fix it right the first time? Was he communicating with you? Like, and I had 100, right? But like, all my surveys for my service writers fucking tanked. So, and we're at 60%. But like, if you looked at mine, I was at 100. So like, when I got here and I started, they were like, listen, man, you got to get on the Google. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I'm like, God damn, I hate that shit, but it's real. So like, people call here and they're like, hey man, like, I have 5-star, right? But then everyone leaves a comment. I've only had one person that left a 4.5 that just left a 4.5, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? No comments. Like, and he's a good customer. Well, he does it on Yelp too. He doesn't. That's just, he's a guy like that. So people are weird like that, right? So you gotta, like, when you're calling around, the first thing you gotta do is hit the damn Google and look, spend some time and read reviews. I can't stand it. I hate it, but it's a part of life now. It just is, because like, all these new kids and everything, and they're just on their phones and shit. They're not doing anything. Like, that's all they're doing is on the phone. So if you don't have a good presence and you don't have like a good website, and when you call, you talk to me. Everybody knows it. You're not talking to a service writer. You're talking to the owner. New people like, yeah, man, I want to talk to somebody about this. I said, okay, man, you can talk to me. Okay, man. Yeah, okay. Well, you're talking to the owner too. Oh, really? Oh, really? Yeah, you're talking to the owner, and probably the guy who's going to fix your truck. Kind of sucks because it's a small place, but it's kind of good because it's a small place. It's a double-edged sword, man, because like, when you get into business, right, you want to grow and you want to be able to take time off and you want to be able to do this and you want to be able to have your guys here and that's, but like, sometimes when you're the best, you have to sacrifice stuff like that. You just do. Because being the best means that you are present. You know what I'm saying? You're fully present. So
Was that one of the biggest changes for you evolving? Was, say, from the early days where Google wasn't a thing, or Yelp reviews, or social media really wasn't much of anything at that time, to now where it's like
thing. Yeah. It's definitely, I had a harder time in my first shop. Number one, because of the experience. Like, I was just at the dealer and I left and opened up a shop. I bought a shop and I just changed it into a truck shop. It was called Yappy's Wheel Alignment. And I changed it it was still a wheel alignment shop, but I changed it into a truck shop. And I thought I was super successful, but I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of things, and like real estate. I was cooking. I had 3 guys working for me. I was cooking. 2008, real estate started, and then like a couple months, that was it. That was it. For everybody, right? Like, they're not fixing their trucks if they're not building houses. They're not. I was all contractors, and you name it. So, but this shop, I did a lot of stuff way different. I have a full-time bookkeeper. Like, she takes care. I was doing everything, and that drove me fucking nuts. Because money's always an issue, and just the way I do business, and the technology let me do a lot of different things. He had a shop program in there, for doing invoicing and parts and this and that, but not like I have now. Like, it's totally different. Like, tech metrics, pretty badass. There's some features that are kind of like hanging me up, but whatever. It's better than Shop Boss, And like, the best thing is my customers love an email and a text, like, communication. Even if I'm keeping the truck, they don't care. But I tell them up front, like, there's a lot, like, if people are in a rush to get your truck fixed, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. Like, I help and I rush for everybody, but if you want to push your way through, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. And they understand. Every once in a while, I've only fired a couple customers, and if they don't come back, there's nothing I can do about that. I don't chase people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I give everybody the same shake. I give everybody the same thing. Sometimes jobs, they just get fucking really bad. Sometimes we get crazy. Some of these trucks, man, sometimes the fucking thing kicks your ass. They do. And we got really got a lot of good partners for a lot of good upgrades. So that helps a lot, because the customers, I got a lot of people around here are farmers, and they're, they hunt, they got this, they got campers, they got boats, and all of this shit. So keeping like 6.7s, I have tons of parts for 6.7s. I'm an S&S dealer, I'm an S&B dealer, like Fox, PMF, like all the good shit, Icon, like everybody. And I got a lot of upgrade parts in the back that I keep, which took time to get, build up. Like, I was doing DCRs for, we're doing them now. I was doing enough of them where I started stocking them. Now like it's slowed down, so I have one in stock. I was having 3 in stock, and I was doing 2 a week. So that's a big one for us. Stuff like that, the CAC tubes, and now the fuel filter relocations for all of that shit, fast drop-ins, like getting rid of that top fuel filter is really like that's a good, huge thing that we're doing for a lot of people.
Something that's been really, really cool from my perspective is seeing these aftermarket companies, how they've taken the technology and the R&D and the systems that they have, that at one point it was, I think, maybe more focused on performance, the race trucks, and how they've transitioned their whole operation to be able to make like fix-it parts. Things that just wear out over time, or it's just a problem that might exist with the OEM setup. And just to be able to keep these trucks on the road, like think of some 6.7 Powerstroke stuff, some 6-liter things, 7.3s. It's just really cool to see the aftermarket, how they've come to embrace that maintenance side.
Did you see on the 6-liter, the dude's got billet oil plugs now? They're like, oh, dude, dry fit, no more O-rings up in the top, dude. They're machined and shit. They're $500. $500. And they're getting released at the end of the month, at the end of this month. I want to get a set or two for my, because like I just did. We did a complete 6-liter, right? Heads, the whole 9 yards, had the engine out, bed plate, the whole thing. Guy went 22,000, and the freaking O-rings went bad on the fucking standpipe. Yep. Then I had another guy that had about 30,000 on his same fucking thing. Yep. That we did before that one. And we did 2 of them. We did the end. We did everything. We bulletproofed them, bed plate, new high pressure pump, like the whole 9 yards. And same thing. Yep. So I did 2 of them in like the last like month, both of those trucks. Not happy about that. Definitely not.
I thought of 2 more questions to ask you. The first one is, having worked on these trucks since new, 7.3s, all the way up to the 6.7. It's kind of a loaded question, or it's general. I'm not sure it has an answer. But which one is the best in your opinion? Now, not from a power racing standpoint, but from when you start it and you can expect it to be reliable, and you can have all these other aspects we look for when we buy trucks: power, torque, comfort, all that stuff. Which one's the best?
Oh shit! It's got to be 6.7. The only reason why is that the only real thing that goes bad on those fucking things is the oil pan. Like, I've only changed a handful of injectors if you don't trash the fucking fuel system, right? Turbo's a turbo, like if you take care of your truck, the fucking turbo won't go bad, right? It's just fucking fact. That thing has got to have oil. It just has to. You know, that thing spinning at fucking what, 100,000, 200,000, you know, just that little shaft, that little bit of oil in there. Like, you have to take care of your trucks. But like they all have their place. They really do, for the correct person. But like, is everybody want to buy a 6.7? No. 80% of the people don't want to spend that much. But then when I get done talking to them about how they're going to buy the 7.3 and they're going to put just about as much money to get it where they want to go camping with it and go states away and everything, which you can, like they do it all the time, you know. But, you know, you have to just, you have to be with the customer. You have to be one with the customer. You know, you can't be worried about you. You have to be worried about them. So like when they talk to me, I'm always thinking about them and asking them the questions. It's all beneficial to me, whichever one you buy, because you're going to come here for the used car inspection before you buy it. Then after that, you're going to get it fixed, right? So it doesn't matter which one, but you have to tell the customers. Customers aren't even fucking paying attention when they're looking for a truck until you answer the questions and you ask and then they're like, man, I never even fucking thought of that. I would have bought this fucking truck and not even thought, and then I would have got pissed I had to put all this money into it. I could have just went and bought the other truck. But they didn't think of it. Yeah. It takes me to get them to think about it. You know what I'm saying? So you have to really, it's case by case for the customer. You know, like I'm diehard 6-liter all the way, you know. But like, do I want to get, I drive 6.7s all the time. Like, I would like to have one? Yeah, I would. Like, but really, I'm going to like blow you away on this one, but like my Toyota Camry is my favorite, just so you know. That's my driver. Like, that's what everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I drive cars. I hate fucking driving trucks. Like, I'll drive my truck for one night or 2 nights. That's it. It sits here. It's all hopped up. It's hot. It's a black Harley truck out there, and it just sits out there. I had an employee that just blew his fucking mind. He loved 6-liters, and he had a 6-liter. It just blew his mind. The fucking truck used to sit there for months. And he's like, when are you going to drive your truck, man? And I would just pile up parts, PMF suspension parts, rear end parts, Fass. I would just pile everything up, you know? And he's like, oh, what the fuck is going on here? And like, yeah, he lost his job over it. Yeah, he did. Because it was like, it drove him nuts. Like, I just got my car back from the detailer, you know? So, yeah. Go to Camry all the
way. Something I think is really interesting is as trucks get older, they almost take on this legendary or iconic status, I think, because they're old. And if you're around this stuff long enough, you think, I remember those, like, they had problems. There are things that needed to be fixed on them. You just don't buy an older one and everything's cool and you don't have anything you got to do on them. There's lots of issues that can pop up, you know, at that time, you know, compared to a new one. So I'm sure you know, how much money do people used to spend to make 600 horsepower on a 7.3 or a 5.9 common rail, or what they would invest in an LB7 to make 800 horsepower?
All of it.
It was a lot.
All of it. All of it. Because, you know, the problem was the internet was so scarce back then. All you had to do is you were getting on the phone, ordering parts. And if it didn't work, you were getting somebody else's parts. Now you can just sit on the computer and you can all day long, and then you can buy the best shit. And listen, all of these guys, all these injector places and all of these freaking big, huge places, they all competing to be number one. So it's way different than it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, like years ago, there wasn't no fucking high pressure pumps for a fucking 7.3. There was no high injectors. There was no big turbos. You were putting a wicked wheel on it and a fucking exhaust. That's it. You know, a hyper chip that you were sticking in the back of the PCM, which fucks them all up now after 10 fucking years. Like all sorts of stupid driving. Like, you know how many trucks I fix with those stupid drivabilities? They do the stupidest fucking shit when those things short out. You just unplug them and then the truck runs fine. I'm like, yeah, you got to get another chip, man. And then they're like hard. They're not hard to find now, but it's tough. I don't really like doing anything with 7.3s. Plus, like, you know, people, since they're on the internet and the internet spoils them so much, right? They think that, you know, I'm not just me. shop owners who do performance stuff, like, got to fucking give you the internet price, which is not true. And like on the internet, and you go on, like, you look at an S&B pipe, and then you go on S&B, I fucking get like $25 off the fucking thing, right? So, like, where's that? You know what I'm saying? So some of this stuff's not real, but all my customers are good about it. I'm like, I'm still in business to make money. So, like, if you want to come here and I have the stuff in stock, it's, I sell the CAC tubes over the counter. Like, I don't have a counter, but just like a customer comes in, you're like, hey man, I got a blown turbo tube, blah 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 blah. So yeah, man, bring it in. We'll take care of it. Oh, I'm going to fix it. You got one? Oh yeah, come on over. I'll sell it to you. I keep three of each in stock, the older ones and the new ones. So I have 6 in stock. Keep cab mounts in stock. I keep steering shocks in stock. I keep track bars in stock. I keep a lot of shit in stock.
I saw that on your company Instagram, that 6.7 Powerstroke. I think it was. You guys were doing a bunch of different stuff on it. It was like navy blue, I think.
Yeah.
Suspension.
Yeah, the suspension. So that customer is like a doctor, and he brought all that stuff, and he's like, I got to get you this guy's phone number from California, man. All this shit half price. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, so he brought me all that stuff's expensive, man. Those shocks are expensive. And then he, like the H&S fuel relocation. But they have a better one. Schneider Performance has a better one with a stand that deletes the top one and then a double cat filter in the back. It's like $990. So, like, that guy brought that stuff. But if somebody wants to do that, I did a couple fast drop-ins. But the one thing I didn't like about it, I did a fast drop-in on the white F450, and he had a 70-gallon S&B tank. Well, like, nowhere on Fass's website does it tell you need that fucking spacer. So, like, we couldn't figure out why the fucking thing wouldn't fit right. So we wound up getting it all to fit right because we made a spacer and all of this shit. And then I called them on the phone. They're like, yeah, you need this part number. I said, let me tell you something, dude. You need to put it next to the fucking thing on the goddamn website. With an aftermarket tank, you need this fucking thing. I was like, we've been jerking off with this thing for like 5 fucking hours, dude. I'm like, no, it's there. I'm like, it's not fucking there, dude. Why would I be calling you and bitching at you about it? So I didn't like that. That was about the only thing that I didn't like about doing the drop-in is that I ordered it for the dude, but if it was clear, I would have ordered the spacer and not wasted time, So sometimes this stuff is a pain in the ass for the aftermarket. But 95% of they're really good about this stuff, And I only use good stuff, Only use good stuff.
I thought of my final question to ask you. I probably should have done this at the beginning, but way back when, what drew you to Ford Powerstrokes, wanting to work on them? Why that particular brand?
Well, here's the deal. When I was 17, I said, I'm going to go get, like, all me and my buddies were all, we're working on our own shit for a long time. My dad had a gas station, so I grew up in it. And they're like, oh, we're going out to the fucking stations. And I said, fuck that. I'm going to dealers. So where I lived in Jersey, Paramus, Route 17, had all dealerships up and down the dealerships. I went and filled out applications. This is 1988. I went and filled out applications in every fucking dealership. And I said, whoever fucking calls me, that's where I'm going to land. And I'm just, 18 years old. Like, I don't really know. Like, I just wanted to be at a dealership because I thought that they have the tools, they have the skills, they have the knowledge. They send you to school. You'll be working on one car line with all of them. I started with cars. Pastilli Ford, his name was John Burkhart, and I broke this guy's. This is when you could call back then, I was 18 years old. I kept calling this fucking guy. You got to give me a chance. You got to give me a chance. You got to give me a chance. Finally, he's like, all right, motherfucker, bring your toolbox in. You're going to be right next to my fucking office. I was like, oh, fuck, he called me out. He fucking called me out. And I went in and I just fucking did it. And that's how I started. I started at a Ford dealer working on cars. I was next to the alignment rack. Like, first job I worked on was a fucking Thunderbird Super Coupe that went underwater. First job, We rolled it in. The guys helped me roll it in. I fucking put it on the lift. And I'm like, what's up with this, John? He says, I went underwater, man. You got to get the spark plugs out. And the whole shop was fucking laughing at me because it's like impossible. I was 18 years old. I was like, I couldn't even see the fucking spark plugs. Well, it took me a couple hours, but I did it. And everybody was impressed after that. So then I just busted my fucking ass. I went to school. I was doing transes. I did everything. I was heavy line, heavy engine, heavy everything. And then when I moved around, and then I finally got to this one dealer, I was like, dude, the guys in the truck shop are making so much fucking more money than a fucking car guy. I was like, fuck this shit. I was on a team, and they were opening up a bigger building in a truck department and everything. And the boss was like, listen, I was a second on a team, and his name was Steve, and Steve Ebers, little Irish guy, man. Drink, dude. You want to talk about drink? This motherfucker can drink 7 days a week, like all day and all night. I never seen an Irish guy. Never seen nothing like it. So his buddy was the team leaders, my team leader, Dan Gurney, another crazy Irish dude. And they sat me in there and they're like, all right, dude, listen, we're gonna open this shop. You're gonna run the fucking truck department. Start going to fucking school. So they started sending me to school and started working on them. And it was like, let's see, 1988. Let's see, 90. Yeah, first Powerstroke, 94. 95. So I've been working on them since then. Yeah, 93, 94. The Powerstroke, yeah. Like then I was working on the 730. I was working on 7.3s, but the Powerstroke is really when I got to the truck department. Then they got the contract for New York City, and I had 7 guys under me. Yeah, I was there 15 years.
That's cool. Yeah, I always like to. It's always really interesting to hear stories with how a career evolves or working on a particular brand. It always fascinates me, I think, to see how all that connects. And I know there's going to be people listening that they're going to have questions. And they might just be on Instagram. They might not be near you. They might. Like Texas is one of our most popular states for downloads. What's the best way for them to connect with you? Reach out to you, ask you questions?
You can just hit me up on Instagram, Big Dog Custom Diesel Work with 2 G's, BIGDOGG, Custom Diesel Works. And then you can just Google me, hit the shop. It's bigdogdiesel.com, BIGDOGG, diesel.com. And then the shop is 512-244-3644. Be more than happy to help you.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you reaching out to me, Tom. It was cool to hear your story and talk trucks with you and get your perspective as a shop owner as things relate to trucks, aftermarket.
Kind of different. I'm listening to these guys who got that are shop owners, and their perspectives are way different than mine. I don't know who's right, though, I don't know who's right. It can't be me because I don't have big Johnny Fat Pockets, so it can't be me. But if you look at what I'm doing for people and trucks and the community, I think I am doing good,
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so cool to have these conversations and get different perspectives and I think ways to approach maintaining our trucks, which was cool to talk about. And I had mentioned that beforehand. Like that's what people want to know is how to maintain them. And they like that approach of being proactive because none of us want to spend that kind of money unless we want to. And so we think of, well, do I need to do my oil changes more frequently? What should I use? What about my filters? What about a whole host of different parts on a vehicle? So it was cool to chat with you today, Tom. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to following you, seeing what's going on at the shop. And, if you start seeing some stuff with Powerstrokes pop up or other trucks, I know you work on everything, let me know. And we'll be glad to have you back on.
All right. Awesome, dude.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com. Use code TDP2540. It'll get you 40% off MSRP. It's a great way to save some money and get some cool gear if you're in the market for a new EDC knife, something for hunting, fishing, around the job site, around the house. They've got you covered with a bunch of different choices for blade steel, blade shape, different opening mechanisms, handle designs. And their whole lineup's designed to meet any budget that you might have. So if you're in the market, make sure and head on over to Kershaw.kaiusa.com and use code TDP2540 for 40% off MSRP. Also want to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters. Tyler Lowe in a 23 Diesel, Cutter Up Rob, Robert, all of other Patreon supporters, all of you who subscribe on YouTube and podcast apps. Follow us on social media. We appreciate all your support here in year 9 of the Diesel Podcast and look forward to bringing you more of the content that you want to hear in 2025. Till next time, keep the shiny side up.